From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 9 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. One man is dead after a police-involved shooting in Billings.
This was a rapidly evolving incident that took place under 30 seconds, and it could have been disastrous.
The chief says the suspect resisting arrest pulled a gun on officers before the officers fired off multiple rounds. Although none of the officers was wearing a body camera, the chief says there were several dash cams rolling that will be used as evidence in the investigation. Here's Q2's Mitch Legge with more details from police.
Billings Police Chief Rich St. John said that the incident happened in under 30 seconds, and two officers fired multiple shots that killed the 29-year-old man from Box Elder. It started on the 2200 block of Avenue C underneath the awning of a covered apartment complex parking lot. A neighbor called in two suspicious vehicles that were parked at odd angles around 10:20 p.m. Monday night. 4 police officers arrived and found 3 total suspects, 2 of whom were in vehicles, while the Box Elder man stood over the open hood of a car, appearing as if he was working on the engine. Police tried to detain the man for questioning, but he would not comply. Officers struggled with the man on the ground while he was lying on his stomach. They were trying to get his hands out from underneath his body and deployed a taser that had no effect. St. John said the man pulled a semi-automatic pistol from his waistband area and pointed it at police. Officers Ryland Nelson and Justin Bickford fired multiple shots at the man. It's not clear how many were fired or how many hit the man, but he died in a Billings hospital overnight from gunshot wounds. St. John said the initial investigation found that the man did not shoot any rounds at police. 2 officers, both 3-year veterans of the department, are currently on administrative leave. The city of Billings has seen its fair share of shootings this year. St. John said the problem is very multifaceted, but drugs like methamphetamine generally play a role in the crimes.
I mean, obviously we have our drug issue. Methamphetamine plays prevalent here. As I stated, that these individuals last night are known to law enforcement. They're known to be involved in drug activity. One of the cars was stolen. We know that the Highway Patrol have chased them a couple times. So you just have that type of reckless behavior. Now we introduce firearms. The one thing that we're starting to see is some random acts of violence, which is very concerning. Historically, most of the stuff that we've seen has been some sort of acquaintance, drug deal gone bad, angry at somebody, whatever the case may be.
St. John said police don't know why the suspects stopped at the apartment building in the first place. None of the officers were wearing body cams, but multiple dash cams on patrol cars recorded audio and video. Billings police will investigate the incident and turn their information over to the Montana Department of Justice and Yellowstone County Attorney's Office for third-party review. In Billings, Mitch Legge, MTN News.
Thanks, Mitch. St. John says the other 2 suspects were questioned and released at the scene. Detectives say they did find a syringe and baggies with drug residue in one of the vehicles. 3 more COVID-19 related deaths to report tonight, in addition to the state announcing 5 more this morning. MTN reporting with these 8 deaths, along with more than 500 new cases reported today, the statewide death toll now stands at 226. And Montana's total cases have now surpassed 20,000. In total, Bighorn County reports those 3 deaths today, moving its total to 32. Local health authorities there tell us this is a 2.9% mortality rate. In western Montana, Ravalli County also announced 2 deaths late today. The other 3 are out of Blaine, Rosebud, and Valley counties. Governor Steve Bullock held a news conference today where he talked about additional measures that some counties, including Yellowstone, are taking to try and slow down the spread of the coronavirus. Bullock said the Billings metro area now has the 18th highest number of cases per capita in the nation. He's calling on county attorneys to do more to enforce health orders.
Likewise, there's no expectation that every single violation of a health order will be or should be remedied through enforcement. But our public health officials will find themselves helpless to combat the virus if they don't receive the support that Montana law guarantees them. It's worth noting that among large counties, those that have taken civil enforcement action against some of the most egregious bad actors currently experience much lower rates of transmission.
Bullock says the state will partner with counties to provide relief dollars to investigate and enforce health orders. Yesterday, Q2 reported that most complaints in Yellowstone County have been handled with a conversation rather than citations. Metro Park will cancel all upcoming events through November 9th. The Board of County Commissioners said in a news release that decision came after Yellowstone County health officers limited group gatherings to 25 people. Metro Park staff has since been directed to inform promoters and vendors who've rented a space at Metro Park of those cancellations. Now, the commissioners say the decision to cancel events at Metro Park was not made lightly, and they understand the need for events in the community, but they say they could not ensure adherence to the new restrictions. Billings Public Library also taking action after yesterday's announcement. The library will close its doors to the public starting tomorrow, October 14th. During this time, library staff will continue curbside service. Curbside service hours will not change. The library will also continue to offer all online services and remote programs. For more information on that, you can visit ktvq.com. And more changes are coming to the Montana high school sports calendar. Today, the MHSA announcing that it will delay winter sports practices until December 7th and hold all competition until after the new year. The changes were agreed in today's monthly meeting. This means there will be at least 2 weeks between the end of the fall sports season and the beginning of winter. Competition will be allowed in the first full week of January, starting Monday the 4th. Championship dates have not been pushed back, meaning state wrestling and swimming are still scheduled for mid-February, though both competitions will likely face format changes to adhere to COVID guidelines. The final weekend of the fall sports season is set for November 20th and 21st. Well, late today, the U.S. Supreme Court issued an order allowing the Trump administration to shut down the U.S. Census count immediately. It's unclear what that means for Montana, but it's probably not good news as far as getting a complete count for our population. If Montana doesn't get a complete count, the state probably will not get an additional congressional seat in 2022, which initially had been expected to happen. A federal district judge had ordered counting efforts to continue through October, overruling an earlier Trump administration decision to halt counting early on September 30th. Montana has had one of the lowest self-response rates in the nation to the census. State officials said the district court order allowed census workers to count people in many rural areas in Montana, including Indian reservations. But today's Supreme Court order allows the Trump administration to stop those efforts. Kendra Miller, a member of the Montana Commission that uses the census results to draw legislative district boundaries, said census workers were preparing to start counting on the Fort Peck Indian Reservation tomorrow. The election is, of course, now 3 weeks from today, and both candidates are on the campaign trail in battleground states. Joe Biden courting senior citizens in Florida, and President Trump rallying with supporters in Pennsylvania. Deborah Alfarone reports from the White House.
Early voting got underway in Texas Tuesday with lines wrapped around polling places. The county that includes Houston says it surpassed its record for first-day early voting.
I've been early voting at this location for 30 years, and I have never seen a turnout like this. I've never even waited in line at this location for early voting.
More than 3 million people have registered to vote there since the last presidential election, and that's given Democrats hope they can flip the Lone Star State. Former Vice President Joe Biden is also gunning for Florida, where President Trump won in 2016. Biden campaigned there today in small, socially distanced events, one where attendees sat in their cars and honked their approval.
The longer Donald Trump remains president, the more reckless he becomes. 3 more weeks before we end this madness.
Before heading to Florida, former Vice President Biden mentioned President Obama. He says the former president is doing well and will be campaigning for the Democratic ticket soon. President Trump held his second rally in as many nights, the most recent in Pennsylvania, a state where CBS News finds he is trailing Biden and where he sharpened his attacks.
Joe Biden would terminate our recovery, delay the vaccine, prolong the pandemic.
Hundreds stood shoulder to shoulder and few wore masks. It's been 8 days since the president was released from the hospital where he was being treated for coronavirus. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, the White House.
Vice President Joe Biden gave one of his most direct answers yet on whether he would add seats on the U.S. Supreme Court to offset a conservative majority. Speaking to a reporter in Ohio last night, Mr. Biden said he is not a fan of court packing. Senator Steve Daines says thanks to firefighters, and he's again promising the Senate will act on a series of sweeping reforms to improve forest management. Daines made those comments today, stopping in Missoula, where U.S. Agriculture Secretary Jim Hubbard. They thank smoke jumpers and other personnel for their work during an especially fierce fire season. It saw more than 30,000 firefighters deployed. Well, the largest fires struck the West Coast this year. Daines and Hubbard note it could be the Northern Rockies' turn next year. Daines is still pushing for approval of the Bipartisan Emergency Wildfire and Public Safety Act of 2020, which would improve commercial harvest of dead and dying trees, expedite environmental reviews, and make communities more fire resistant.
Pleased to see the support the bill's getting, and I think the wildfires in California and Oregon testify to the fact that we've got to do something about better managing our forests. Either we're going to manage our forests or our forests are going to manage us.
Well, Daines expects Senate action on the Wildfire and Public Safety Act soon after Election Day. Still to come on the MTN 9 o'clock news here on the CW, the political battle over the confirmation of Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett. Also an issue in Montana's U.S. Senate race. We'll tell you why. And as we take a live look outside on this Tuesday evening, some big changes will soon be blowing this way with the weather. Bob has the forecast coming up next.